All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Eric Paulson. Going to be breaking down the Week 1 DraftKings cash plays. Okay, for some of you guys that have seen my previous videos, I'm going to be echoing some of the same players that I was already on, but it's going to be applying those players to like kind of a cash build. Okay, so we're going to go through that process. We're going to go through it position by position. Now, the thing about cash plays is that each week, each slate is kind of created differently. So you kind of have to go with what the slate is presenting you for cash plays. Now, GPPs, it's a little bit different. You kind of just go where maybe the stacking opportunities are, the best games are and whatnot. For cash, you got to consider the price discount. So that is what I'm going to be focusing on in this video. For me, it's all about the process. Okay, if we have the process down week in and week out, we're going to have some good results throughout the whole season. Okay, and that's really what the goal is. Have the correct process that yields you success throughout the whole season. So let's get into those picks right now. I do want to just kind of give a quick mention. I did finalize the 9 to 5 cheat sheet here, so it is available for people. It is now the 9 to 5 membership as well. So it's available on 9 to 5 Sports. If you go there, there's a membership with the golf content and the NFL content. Right now, the NFL content is going to be the cheat sheet and the lineup optimizer. You can kind of go through it. There's a bunch of different tabs that you can go through. This is the detailed cheat sheet. This is the super simple cheat sheet. Kind of just tells you all you need to know about that slate. And then we also have a player profile. You can kind of see the basic details for that player as well. It's the information that kind of you need for that slate. So just want to throw it out there. A lot of people have been asking about that. But let's get it into the cash plays. So I'm going to start off with the running backs. That's typically the spot that I like to start off with. Nail those, and you should be pretty good. You're starting correctly. You had that base down. So obviously Jonathan Taylor is in a great spot going against the Houston Texans. Okay, I've already mentioned this a couple of times. He dominated against Houston last year, going for 28 DK points and then 30 DK points earlier on in that season, basically averaging 30 DK points against them. Obviously, the Colts should be able to handle the Houston Texans pretty well. Jonathan Taylor 9.1 is priced up, but you'll see given the other positions, we are able to pay down just kind of naturally because some of the other players are not as safe as Jonathan Taylor should be. Now, some people might think Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey are strong cash plays. I'm not going to disagree with that. I kind of just like Austin Eckler a little bit more. He gets involved in the passing game a lot. We know that regardless of game script, okay, he is going to be involved. So I do like him a lot. Not that much of a competition in the running back room as well. It's basically Austin Eckler or nobody right now. Spiller's there, I know, but he's kind of banged up, rookie. You don't really trust him. Eckler is that guy. I do like him a lot. I just don't know if we'll be able to afford to fit him into our cash builds, okay? From there, like I don't mind Alvin Kamara. I think he makes for a fine cash play. Kind of same thing with Joe Mixon. I see DeAndre Swift as a fine cash play. If you want to go that route, I kind of see him as more of a GPP play. The kind of obvious cash play is going to be Najee Harris. So Najee Harris at 6.4 is basically the cheapest he's going to be probably all year. I was a little bit worried about really how strong the backup Pittsburgh Steelers running backs had looked. And I just didn't really like Harris all last year. He wasn't that effective with the touches that he was getting. And I think that might have been the problem as well. Maybe too many touches kind of led him to not have as much burst as I would particularly like to see in a running back. Based off what I saw just on the 28 snaps that he had last week, he looked sharp and he was using the passing game a decent amount. I don't think that workload is going to go away. I think he's going to be a safe 15 DK play. I think that would be his floor. He gives us the upside if he goes out and scores as well. From there, running back wise, like Mike Davis, I touched on this a decent amount. The Baltimore Ravens recently brought in Kenyon Drake, okay? And that kind of tells us a couple of things. Like Gus Edwards most likely not going to be active for the first 4 weeks. J.K. Dobbins probably not going to be active for week 1. I think we are going to see Mike Davis, as I kind of expected for a while now, is going to be the lead back, at least until Dobbins is healthy. You bring in Kenyon Drake, who's going to be kind of a veteran presence there for him. He can get used in the passing game a little bit as well. It's nice depth to have, but I still think Mike Davis is going to be the RB1 until Dobbins is back, okay? That didn't change the play for me. I still think he makes for a great value, if not the best value running back play on the slate. I do think we do need to point out, though, Dameon Pierce here for the Houston Texans. Now, they let go of Marlon Mack, okay? Kind of a surprise cut there. Pierce has looked nothing but the part. He has looked good. Okay, so Dameon Pierce at 4.8. Yes, it's a rookie, and yes, we can't guarantee that he's going to get like 16 or so touches that you would, really want to have. Still, great price point for him. Probably going to get around 12 DK points. Like he should be easily able to hit 2x at this price point. The matchup isn't the best, but I think we can go this route. And honestly, if we are going JT and Pierce, you would almost have to play the Colts D there. I typically like to pay down for defense. Like, find the lowest price defense that's not going to go negative and roll with it. Okay, and that even might be the Lions or the Bears. Like, I like both of those options there. For now, I will put the Colts in there just based off of this kind of build that I have started going. So now switching over into the quarterback plays. My biggest issue with the quarterback spots here are, like, I like Lamar Jackson. I like Kyler Murray. Fine cash plays if you can fit them. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Those guys are all fine plays. Like, definitely if you can afford to pay up for them, do it, okay? I kind of find myself, and I don't love this, I find myself having to go with more the value approach. Okay, so like Trevor Lawrence to me makes a lot of sense, and I think this is ugly. I do. I don't love Trevor Lawrence, especially at this price point. I don't think he's looked that good, but going against the Washington Commanders, it should be a good spot for him. He should be able to get 15 DK points. Now, I don't love that, but I think the floor will be there. I think the passing attempts will be there for him. Just can he convert, okay? Like I said, if you can afford to pay up for one of these top quarterbacks, it really doesn't care. It doesn't matter which one it is. By all means, do that. So we'll see if we can do that at the end of this build, okay? But for now, I'm kind of looking at the quarterbacks that are going to be the cheapest value that I can afford right now. I don't mind Jameis Winston as well going against the Atlanta Falcons. Is he a cash play? Maybe not, but if you're looking for kind of a value quarterback play to go with, to kind of punt, hey, this quarterback play is going to, get me 15 or so DK points. That'll be enough. I can afford to pay up for the other studs on the slate. That could be Jameis Winston. And then you could play Alvin Kamara with him if you wanted to. Maybe kind of get 4 receptions from Alvin Kamara from Jameis Winston. You could possibly do that. Now, I don't love that. Obviously, that's not a thing that you typically want to chase a quarterback and a running back in your cash builds. Not a terrible play, though. And if you were really hurting for value, and I don't love this, okay? Once again, the only reason I would do this is if I were trying to really fit in all the studs, okay? Joe Flacco going against the Baltimore Ravens. Sure, you got the revenge game narrative there. At 4.8, he really does not need to do much. He needs to throw for like 200 and let's say 40 yards and throw a touchdown and not get 3 interceptions. I think that is in the realm of possibilities there for Joe Flacco. Like, if you are just like, all right, I'm playing every stud possible on this slate and going with Joe Flacco, I don't hate it. But then you'd have to play like Elijah Moore, who I think is a great GPP play. I don't know if I see him as a cash play. Strong GPP play, though. Okay, let's just say we are going to go Trevor Lawrence as our quarterback for now. That leads me to my favorite play on the whole slate. If you guys have watched any of the previous videos, you already know who it is. Christian Kirk at 5.1 is just tremendous value, okay? I've touched on this a lot already. We saw in preseason week 1, Zay Jones was in the presumed to be Christian Kirk role, and Zay Jones lit it up. We saw in preseason week 2, Christian Kirk in the Christian Kirk role, and he absolutely lit it up, going for 10 DK points and a half. Christian Kirk was brought in to be a target monster like he was in Arizona, but I just think he's going to be a little bit more consistent. And I think at this price point, you just can't avoid that. It's going to be 7 or 8 targets. Should at least be 10 DK points. If he scores a touchdown, obviously that would be huge. If you are playing Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk makes sense. If you aren't playing Trevor Lawrence, he still makes sense. Let's just say we are playing Trevor Lawrence at our quarterback, though. I think you even could go as far as to play Marvin Jones as well, because I think Marvin Jones is too cheap, okay? And if they are going to throw the ball a ton, like let's say 40 times, you give Christian Kirk a bunch of targets, you give Marvin Jones a bunch of targets. And I kind of think that's going to be this offense. We saw Marvin Jones actually be pretty productive last year, especially in that receiver number 1 role. Now, I don't know if he's exactly going to be that, but I do think he has some of the best touchdown upside for the Jaguars. And at 4.4, that is a great price point, especially in that kind of softer matchup. So I don't mind Marvin Jones there as well. Now, obviously, that's more of a stack, more of a GPP stack, but you could easily go that route if you want to. My biggest problem with the receivers on this slate is that they are all somewhat risky, okay? You're all kind of paying up for the premium, okay? If they're all a little bit cheaper, I'd like them a little bit more. They are all in kind of perceived to be tougher matchups as well. So I have literally been defaulting to, all right, let's play it safe. Let's pay down at the receiver spot. If we need to pay up at quarterback, which you guys will see once I finish this, or tight end, we will do that and feel good with it. Okay, we'll take those bumping points that are more secure somewhere else. Deontay Johnson at 6K, if he is healthy, we got to check on that shoulder, okay? If he is healthy, he's going to be a phenomenal play for us again. Let's say he's out, you could easily play Pickens or Chase Claypool, I think. Maybe in Cincinnati Bengals defense, honestly. But if Johnson is active, I love him. Even with Najee Harris as my running back play, they are both discounted, okay? And I think they're both going to get a ton of targets. I don't think Deontay Johnson's role is going to change at all. So we are getting him at the cheapest price point. We'll probably get him all year. Week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals, which should be a little bit higher scoring of a game. Okay, we saw last year he had 14 targets against them, 9 receptions for 18.5 DK points. Like, if he gets us just 15 DK points, I kind of expect that solid performance there from Deontay Johnson. I think he makes a lot of sense. And then just get into a couple other plays that I do really like. Darnell Mooney, I think he's just going to be a target hard, guys. The offense is going to run through him and David Montgomery, really just depending on the matchup for that week. I think the Niners are going to be a little bit better against the run this season. Thus, I like Mooney a little bit more. I think they'll force him a few more targets, like 9 targets in this game at 5.7. Like, I fully expect that to happen regardless of the outcome of the game. If they get blown out, whatever, he should still get those targets. At 5.7, that is just a great price point for someone. I think that will probably be his lowest price point on the year. Like I said, I don't mind Elijah Moore. If you do decide to go with Joe Flacco as the quarterback, you could go Elijah Moore. I mentioned this in the previous video as well. Kadarius Toney, guys. We've all probably seen the videos on Kenny Galladay, all right, where he just doesn't look mentally geared up to play New York Giants football. Doesn't seem invested. Doesn't seem to care. Not going through the practice motions. Heck, in games, he's not even blocking. Toney, when he's going to be healthy, if he is healthy, gosh, it's so frustrating. He just needs to be healthy, and he'd be like a fantasy star. I hope his career doesn't get wasted. But we saw early on in training camp, he was absolutely lighting it up, going up and high-pointing balls, as well as still burning DBs left and right. We know he's a guy that can get open. If he is healthy against the Tennessee Titans at 4.1 to get a receiver number 1 that's going to get targeted a ton, I would say at least 7 times, it's highly appealing to me. We need to see the news on that first, but I think you could easily play Toney in a cash build at this price point because, once again, I think we are going to get Toney at the lowest price point he'll be at all season. Okay? And maybe he sits out week 1 and we can get him at like, I doubt it. I doubt his price point is going to go lower regardless because I think DraftKings now realizes, yes, he is going to be the receiver number 1. This is a pricing mistake. We need to fix that. But maybe not. You know, that'd be something to watch for in week 2 if he is sitting. And then from there, like, I don't think you have to go this low, but I do think, once again, Randall Cobb is just at a cheap price point going against the easy matchup. Once again, Aaron Rodgers trusts Randall Cobb, okay? For him to hit value doesn't take much. It takes like maybe 2 catches, maybe 3 catches, which I do expect him to have a little bit more target share, a little bit more receptions than he had last year. Obviously, with Devontae Adams gone, it's going to spread the wealth a little bit more. If Robert Tonyan is inactive in this one, which I do expect him to actually be active in, but if he is inactive, Cobb becomes a little bit more interesting as well. You know, those across the middle routes are a little bit more open up for Cobb because Josiah DeGuara, Tyler Davis, those guys suck. So from there, we are looking at the tight ends. I just mentioned a couple of tight ends that I do like. Well, you could easily afford Mark Andrews if you are paying down at quarterback. Okay, I think he makes a lot of sense. Super safe floor. You look at kind of the Baltimore Ravens' whole offense right now, it's banged up. Their top two running backs, both injured, both probably not going to play. Look at James Prochet, who I thought might actually be a decent value on this slate. He hasn't been healthy since the start of training camp. He might be out. So like 3 of their, let's just say, top 6 offensive weapons are going to be out on this one. That's only going to mean that Mark Andrews is going to get more and more targets. Well, I shouldn't say more and more targets, but the targets are going to continue to be there for him like they were last year. Okay, so you could easily afford to pay up for him. 6.8 is a lot. Okay, you don't love that. But you could easily afford to pay up for him. And I say that because you would pay down at defense here instead, okay? Another tight end play that I really do like is kind of the one I've been defaulting to thus far is TJ Hawkinson. Okay, TJ Hawkinson, I think he's going to have that same safe floor that he had for a majority of the season last year. This is going to be much more of a horizontal passing attack rather than a vertical passing attack, which should just mean a lot more receptions for, well, tight ends for St. Brown, like everyone expects, a lot more dump offs to DeAndre Swift. They want to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers. That's what their offense is going to be designed to do. TJ Hawkinson at 4.9, maybe priced at the floor, which I think is going to be around 10 DK points each and every week, especially in this matchup. Solid play. Very solid play. Should be a safe play as well. Dallas Goedert in that same game, I don't mind. You could play him if you want to. And then Tyler Conklin, I do wish he was a little bit cheaper. I thought this was going to be a sneakier play. But one thing that we have seen thus far this preseason is that he is the tight end number one in that offense in terms of receiving. Okay. And he even might be you could argue the second best receiving option. At least that's the news coming out of Jets training camp. And I've warned you throughout the preseason DFS coverage that the Jets beat reporters kind of suck. Okay. So take that with a grain of salt. But the thing is, the point that I'm making is they clearly do like Tyler Conklin there in New York. Okay. So at 3.5 for a guy that has been getting talked up a lot, you could easily play him. Okay, and if you guys aren't figuring it out, like you could easily go with Joe Flacco, Elijah Moore, Tyler Conklin stack, which would be unique. Maybe not in cash, but in GPPs, it'd be a unique cash build. And then you could also just load up on Baltimore players. You could go Marquise Brown. Wait, is that right? Is Marquise Brown? Oh, man, I'm drawing a blank here, guys. Sorry. I need to check this so I'm not wrong. Brown is in Arizona. Oh, Bateman. Gosh, sorry, Bateman. You go Bateman and Andrews there, and maybe even Devin Duvernay if you wanted to as well with Baltimore. Like you could game stack that game as well. Okay, you could easily do that if you want to. But let's just finish out this build here. So I don't really want to pay up for Mark Andrews. I think I'm gonna go Hawkinson here. So put him in there. I'm going to pay down at defense. Once again, I just want to punt at defense. I don't really care. I just want the defense that is not going to go negative. I actually really like the Chicago Bears. They're like the one defense that really impressed me thus far this preseason. Going against Trey Lance, who I do think that offense is going to be much improved, but he can be inconsistent. Okay, so take a quarterback that's a little bit inconsistent against the defense that looked really good. You know, that's kind of the approach that I want to go with there. Maybe we toss in Mooney right there, who I already touched on. I thought was a great receiver play. You could easily play him. And then from there, what do we have? You know, we might be stuck with Trevor Lawrence, unfortunately. You could pay down from Pierce, potentially. Go to Mike Davis. Maybe we can open up some value there. Let's try that. $6.2. Anything there? Still not. Maybe you could go Conklin at tight end and then afford to pay up for one of the safer quarterback plays. Now, obviously, there's zero stacking going on here, but that's kind of the slate, is that the stacking routes you could go with are all kind of priced out, which is unfortunate. Okay, so maybe Lamar Jackson, maybe Justin Herbert. Like, I don't mind any of them. You could easily play any of them. I like Kyler Murray. Let's just go with Kyler Murray for the sake of it right now. Okay. And that does bring up a second thing that I want to point out to you guys. I know this is a little bit longer video than normal, but part of, I think, a strong cash strategy would just be to highlight the highest scoring slate or the highest projected scoring game on the slate. And so that'd be KC versus Arizona. So I'm just going to use Kyler Murray as the quarterback right now. Maybe James Conner, we'll see. Marquise Brown, super cheap. Juju Smith-Schuster, super cheap for a guy that is expected to be kind of the receiver number one in that offense. Both super cheap, okay? We could potentially begin 15, 30 DK points from those two, okay? You could go AJ Green, who I think is going to score around 10 DK points. Like, you get a solid floor right here. If you want to go Travis Kelce, yes, on paper it's a tougher matchup. You could. Zach Ertz is another tight end play that I really don't mind, to be honest with you guys. Like, if healthy, I think he's going to get targeted a lot, which I do think he'll be back. I think he'll be back, healthy and active. You could easily play him. Heck, you could even go Kelce in this one. Like, The thing with it is I just want to target the highest scoring slate. Like you could easily just boom, do that. Hopefully it is the highest scoring slate. And if it hits as the highest scoring slate, you're already on all the top plays from that game. Like let's just say Kyler Murray has 3 touchdowns. Let's be honest. One of them's likely to go to Marquise Brown. One of them's likely to go to Ertz or Green. And maybe not. Maybe Connor gets a passing touchdown. Maybe Kyler Murray rushes for one. You're kind of just building up your floor there, kind of minimizing your ceiling. So as long as the slate doesn't go bonkers where every like high owned play hits, a game stack like this for cash purposes can work. Okay, and then you're just playing whichever defense you want, whichever defense you think is in a solid spot. Okay, this is a strategy that I was testing out at the end of the year last year that did work. I didn't do any like research on it if it actually is kind of like the safe approach to go with. I like the process of kind of just mixing and matching the best values on the slate to put into a cash build. But this is an idea that I don't mind. Okay, this is an idea that I'm going to test out for the first month of the NFL season because look at how easy it was to fit in all the top players on this slate. Very easy. Very, very easy. Or of this game. Very easy there. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. Give me a like and subscribe. That helps the channel all out. And it's going to help you out a lot as well. But that's all I have for you guys for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and subscribe. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.